everyone. Happy So What Day and happy Tuesday. We are back from Ireland. Yay! So I have a lot to show you from our travels, including today's project. I'm going to be taking you through the project that I did on the workshop while we were in Ireland, so you can kind of get a taste of what all of our tour goers got to do in our hands-on sewing workshop. Exciting stuff. Also, I have a lot to kind of review with you. I feel like I've been gone forever, and I've only been gone for a week. It was a long week. I'm just now getting back to the swing of things, and I'm excited to kick things off with a So What? So if you are joining for the first time, let me know where you're watching from in the comments and say hello. Be sure to be commenting, sharing out this post, and like us on Facebook if you're watching from there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching from there, because I have a great giveaway from Sulky today, and it's going to go to one lucky viewer who is watching and commenting and engaging with the post, doing all those good things. Today's gift from Sulky is a 6-pack of poly sparkle thread, and it's in an assortment of greens, grays, beiges, sparkles, and the assortment is called Luck of the Irish. So I feel a theme coming on, right? Is everybody with me? I know it's not St. Patrick's Day, but hey, when you're in Ireland, it's St. Patrick's Day every day. Or at least it feels like it. It's quite a party. Quite a party. All right. So let's see. Sharon says good morning and welcome back. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to tell you all about the tour. Now, as we are talking about the tour, I want you all to remember that we have a number of upcoming travel opportunities with craft tours. First up, we are going to Bali in October. So if you're taking a look at the pictures I'm going to be sharing today, and you're wanting to go on one of our fabulous trips coming up in the future, check out Bali. That's happening in October. And then in March of 2025, we will be going to India. We are going to really focus on different embroidery techniques and beads and sequins and adding lots and lots of color to our creations. So that's really going to be the theme for our India trip. It's going to be amazing. We will be there for the Festival of Holi. There's also an opportunity to do a sunrise trip to the Taj Mahal. This is really, really a bucket list vacation, and you can check out the entire itinerary on the Craft Tours website. And be sure to check out the Sulky itinerary for India, because there are several options out there, and we want to make sure that you come with us. And then also in May of 2025, we'll be going to Greece. Oh, I cannot wait. And then in the end of the year in 2025, for the Christmas markets, we will be traveling to Germany and Austria to see how Sulky thread is made and manufactured. And we're also going to do all of the quintessential, Austria and Germany things. We will be going to Munich. We will be going to Mozart's birthplace. We will be doing an apple strudel cooking lesson. There's so many things to do for the Christmas markets in and of themselves. So this is going to be a fun-filled, super packed trip as well at the end of 2025. So you can plan for all of these great travel adventures in advance and connect with Craft Tours for these Sulky tours. They can get you a payment plan going on, all kinds of things. And we would love for you to join us on one of our future tours. All right. Lots of people saying hello. I love it. I heard this morning from our tour mates that I believe everyone now has made it home safe. So that's wonderful news. There were so many travel delays. So many of us were stuck at the airport for hours and hours on end. My flight alone was delayed 3 times. The gate was changed 3 times. I ended up seriously taking planes, trains, and automobiles to get home. It was absolutely nuts. But I'm glad to be back in the sewing studio, safe and sound, and I'm glad that all of our tour mates made it as well. All right, let's see. Oh, Esther just says, just got home from family holiday in Greece. It was wonderful and a trip of a lifetime. Yeah, it is. Oh, that tour is just, the itinerary is still being finalized, but it's going to be absolutely incredible. I'm so excited. So excited. All right, so let's see. What else do I have to share with you? Ooh, next week already. Next week, August 13th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be going live with our Floral Farmhouse Pinnacle Table Runner webcast. This is a special event that will happen after our So What next Tuesday. So 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be live streaming over at sewingonline.sulky.com. I'm going to take you through this table runner that I've also displayed behind me here. I love a table runner because not only can you use it for your table, but you can also hang it up like a piece of art. You don't have to just, save it for your table. Lots of different ways you can display a quilty work of art. So our webcast next Tuesday, make sure you're registered for it. And I have some exciting events that have taken place since I have been away. First off, of course, we have our kit for the Floral Farmhouse version of the table runner, which is the one that you see behind me here. And we have a brand new kit we've added to the mix as well. So you can grab up the Floral Farmhouse colorway, which is this beautiful fabric collection from cotton and steel. Comes with all of these beautiful sulky threads. You'll get a construction thread for all the piecing, and then you also get some filane threads, which we're also going to be talking about today with our Ireland project. But all the filane threads is what we're going to use for quilting the piece. You can choose either hand quilting or machine quilting, and we're going to use this really cool 12-weight, heavyweight, yarn-like thread for the quilting. So it gives it this kind of vintage look, and it's just really great to work with. You'll also, of course, get an assortment pack of needles. So you'll have the right sizes of needles for that construction thread, which is a lightweight thread, as well as larger needles for the filane thread if you choose to quilt it on your machine. You'll also get the specialty ruler from the Crafty Gemini, who incidentally designed this table runner as well, and your background fabric. The background fabric is all the gray fabric that you see on this sample. So it's the background for all of our diamond blocks, okay? So you'll get everything you need for the top of your table runner, as well as, of course, the threads and the quilting. So you will need some backing fabric and some binding fabric. But this is a really great muted color palette, and I'm sure you have something in your stash, maybe a gray blender or even a mustardy or just any kind of fall themed motif for your backing fabric. All right. So we've got this colorway, and now we have a very cute Halloween colorway of this kit. So it is offered at the same exact special price as our Floral Farmhouse kit, but now you can also grab up the Halloween kit, and I'll show you what these fabrics look like a little bit closer up here so you can see. So here's the background fabric for Halloween. You could see it's kind of like fangs, right? But it's a little nondescript. So it's a little wink and a nudge to Halloween for the background fabric. Of course, you also get the ruler that you're going to need to create our blocks. This ruler is so awesome. It is particularly sized for 5-inch charm squares. So that's why your kit is comprised of all of these charm squares. So this is a Riley Blake collection, and it's brand new, hot off the presses, and it's these great, great Halloween themed motifs. You'll see jack-o'-lanterns, eyeballs, spider webs, all kinds of fun cats and things, skeletons and stars. So it's really, really great for Halloween, which will be here before we know it. And now you'll have time to create a brand new table runner for it. You can also rearrange these blocks and make a sort of mini quilt or like a centerpiece for your table. If you don't want a long table runner, you can make something that's more square. You're really going to learn the technique for creating these blocks and then arranging them in all different ways. So this is just one way of arranging your table runner, but I'm going to teach you 6 different ways to arrange it. So yours can be entirely unique once you see the webcast and, understand how it all goes together. So we have curated this kit with all of these great Sulky threads. Again, they're in that 12-weight Felane thread, so that yarn-like thread for really, really neat quilting special effects. So you'll get all of the threads that coordinate with the charm pack, as well as a construction thread spool, the needles that I showed you before, and all of that. So now you can choose either the Floral Farmhouse version or the Halloween version for the webcast kit, or grab up both of them and you'll get free shipping. Because at sulky.com, all you have to do is spend $60 and you get free shipping. And these kits are on sale for an incredible $38.99 for all of the things that I showed you there. So absolutely amazing, amazing kit deal. Why not grab up both of them? You're going to love how it all comes together. Here is just a little bit closer image of those beautiful threads and how they coordinate so perfectly with this fabric collection. Also, of course, with your kit, you will be getting the digital pattern for the Pinnacle Table Runner that explains how to create all the 6 different versions, how to piece together the blocks, how to use the ruler so you have no fabric waste, everything I'm going to present to you in the webcast and more. So you'll have a digital PDF you can save for future reference as well. All right, so make sure you are fully registered for the event, and I'll see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time when we go live. Make sure you're registered because you also will get this great design. You will get the design for hand embroidery as well as machine embroidery. So if you don't have an embroidery machine, you can use the hand embroidery version and vice versa, right? This is called Mum Spray, and it's part of our Fall Botanicals machine embroidery and hand embroidery collections. So we pulled out this design to give it to you as a freebie because look how it coordinates with the fabrics and the entire project. You can use this design and put it in the center of one of your diamond blocks, or you can use it for tons of other fall projects as well. So once you register, you'll have access to this design. You can grab up the machine embroidery design and start working on it today. You can grab up the hand embroidery design and start working on that. You can use the Felane thread that comes with your kit to create the hand embroidery design. So see how this all works together so nicely? All you have to do is register for the event and you will receive these 2 designs absolutely for free. All right. So let's talk about Ireland. I saw Colleen is watching here. Colleen was with us in Ireland. Glad you got home safe, Colleen. Colleen was my buddy on the trip. And it's so nice when you're traveling alone to, find somebody that you just click with. And we had a number of meals together and we just had a great, great time experiencing Ireland together. And of course, we were with the rest of the group as well. But we have a lot of time, on our own to sort of explore. And it was just absolutely a wonderful, wonderful time. So here is the project that I took everybody through during our hands-on workshop. And no, not a single person finished during our workshop, but I didn't expect them to. I like to give a little bit of a challenge. And also when handwork is involved, some people are really quick at it. Some people need more time with it. So the most important part that we all got through was the fusible applique and the stitching of the Felane thread. So I'm going to go through with you all the components, what this is comprised of. I made my piece into an ornament that you see here, stuffed it with a little bit of fiber fill. You can get the full tutorial for how to create the ornament on our blog at blog.sulky.com. All right, we will also put that link in the description, or in the comments of the post here, because I think I excuse me, I can't hardly speak. It's been a week. I've been off a week. What's happening? We will put the link to the blog post in the live chat and in the comments so you can use your hand embroidery design and turn it into an ornament like this. Or you can use your embroidery design and hoop it in a 6-inch hoop and have a little piece of hoop art. Or you can do with it what you will, because the embroidery design is our freebie for the month of August at sulky.com. So now you can also live vicariously through all of us that were on the Ireland tour, and you can grab up your hand embroidery pattern. So it's several pages, and let me get rid of this picture so I can show you here. It's going to be several pages of download. You don't have to print it in color or print it at all if you want to just look at it on your screen. The first page you're going to get is the color key. That's going to tell you which thread color to use for which part of the embroidery design. Okay? That key is on page 2. Then the third page are your applique templates. These are the portions of Sulky Felty that you're going to cut out and applique onto your background piece of Felty. So we used all Felty for this ornament. And you can see here in everyone's kit, they got 4 sheets of Felty. 1 sheet is for the background. 1 sheet is for the sky, that light blue color. 1 sheet is for the cliffs, because we are creating the cliffs of Moher out of applique and embroidery. And then 1 sheet is for the grass. Then they got all these different thread colors to use for the embroidery portions of the design, including a spool of white filaine thread. And that's what we're going to use for the clouds, the little water waves, and the sheep, the cute little fuzzy sheep that are on this ornament. So I'm going to go through that with you momentarily. They also got a sheet of Sulky Perfect Applique Fusible Web. That's what we're going to put on the Felty so that it sticks to our background fabric. And yes, Felty is polyester. So you can fuse it. You can wash it. It's so great. So not only are we going to fuse it, we're also going to apply water on it after our embroidery template is all used and all sewn through. So the last page of your free download is going to be the page that you want to print onto a sheet of Sulky Stick and Stitch Stabilizer. Okay? This is your embroidery template. It also has the lines for your applique pieces printed on it, so that after we fuse our applique and we're placing our sticker embroidery transfer over the top of our appliques, you can line up the edges of those applique pieces according to the template, and then you will have all the lines that you need to follow for your embroidery design. So, as you could tell, this was a little bit of an involved project and a lot to explain to all of our tour mates, but everyone just, you know what? They all had an open mind. They were all ready for the challenge, and we just had a great, great afternoon. And yes, I'm going to show you pictures of our trip, and you'll see some of them working on their creation in our classroom as well, which was a beautiful room. And one whole side of the room that we were working in were all windows, and those came in great handy when we were transferring our applique design, or our applique lines onto our fusible web. So I'll get to that momentarily. All right, so let me take you through this project step by step now that I've kind of given you the overview of what this is made of, or, you know, all the different components, right? So first we are going to fuse our perfect applique to the wrong side of our Felty applique pieces. Now, I had to do this a little bit differently during our workshop because I couldn't bring any KK2000 on the plane. This aerosol, I just didn't want to risk them taking it away from me. And so I did it a little bit differently during the workshop. During the workshop, I had them trace their applique pieces onto the paper side of the fusible web before applying it to the Felty. But I did it a little bit differently for the blog post because I was able to use KK2000. So that's what I'm going to show you here. But during our workshop, since they all had to trace the mirror image of, I already put the pattern away, you always want to trace the mirror image of your applique because you're going to be fusing your fusible web to the wrong side of your Felty. So once you turn it over, it needs to be the right side facing up. So that's why they all had to trace the mirror image of their applique pieces, which meant that we all had to head on over. Here's the applique pieces again. We all had to head on over to our gorgeous floor-to-ceiling windows so that we could see the mirror image on the opposite side of our paper and transfer it to the fusible web. Everybody with me? All right, so you can really do it either way. You can either transfer those applique pieces onto the fusible web, then fuse it to your Felty, or you can do what I am showing you here. All right, so I fused my fusible web to the Felty, the 3 applique Felty sheets, the green, the light blue, and the tan. And then I cut out my applique pieces. You can see I did a rough cut. And I sprayed the back of the paper with a little bit of KK2000. And I stuck that applique piece right to the right side of my Felty. Then I can just cut it out. Don't have to worry about the mirror image. Don't have to take the separate step of, tracing it with my pencil. None of that. I can just stick it right to the Felty right side and then cut out along the outline of the cliffs, of the sky, and of the grass. Okay? Since KK2000 is a temporary spray adhesive, I am then able, after I've cut it out, to simply remove the paper and all is right with the world, and I have my applique completely done, no tracing needed. All right, so after we cut out our applique pieces, there you can see we've got our cliffs cut out. You can just remove the paper. And if your Felty remains a little bit tacky, don't worry about it. Just leave it alone. It's air soluble, so it's going to dissipate into the air over about 24 to 48, maybe 72 hours, and then all traces of your spray adhesive will be gone. But I find when I'm spraying the paper and applying that to the Felty, as opposed to spraying the Felty, catch my drift, there's a lot less sticky that remains on the Felty. Once we take the paper away, it kind of leaves with the paper. So another bonus there. All right. So now we're going to place our applique pieces onto our background Felty. So first, I placed my cliffs applique kind of in the center-ish area of my background piece of Felty. And you can refer to your template in the hand embroidery pattern. You can refer to that for placement. And honestly, this does not have to be perfect because once we put our sticky hand embroidery transfer sheet over the top of this, if it's not matching up properly or, absolutely perfectly, it's okay. It really is. You'll be able to see through it so you can stitch along your edges and you can just take liberties with the design. You can move a sheep down a little ways, something like that, if you need to, if it's not matching up totally perfectly. So I was really stressing this during our workshop because I know that as sewers, we are perfectionists. So I was really trying to drive home that this does not need to be placed absolutely perfectly. Really what we want to do is make sure they're kind of overlapping a little bit, and so that the grass overlaps the edge of the cliff by a tiny bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch. You see how the grass is in the foreground? And then same thing with the sky. We want the sky to be behind the cliffs a little ways so that we have a little bit of dimensionality, right? The sky is in the background, then we have the cliffs, then we have the grass. Okay? All right, so let's see. Now we're going to remove the paper backing of our fusible web so that it's exposing the fusible web on the back side of the Felty. So once you have everything kind of in place, you can remove that paper backing, smooth everything down. Once you have it where you think you want it, take your stick and stitch embroidery printout and just kind of put it over the top of your pieces before you fuse them. Because at that point, if you put this over the top, you can do a little bit of moving around of your pieces, spread them out a little bit more if you need to, vice versa. You get the idea. But again, honestly, it does not have to be perfect. You can kind of eyeball it and get it pretty close. I also wanted to mention too that your applique pieces are going all the way out to this edge here, but this dotted line is actually the outer edge of your design. So I gave a generous seam allowance because if you want to end up hooping this in a 6-inch hoop, then you'll have enough fabric overhang to where you can, use double-sided basting tape and stick it to the back of the hoop temporarily. Or some people like to hot glue that edge around the back of the hoop and have it be a more permanent piece of art. So this gives you a little bit of leeway for not only your end result, whether you're going to make it into a pillow or an ornament or wall art, so you have that extra, but it also gives you a little bit of wiggle room for your placement of your appliques. So if your edge corner points aren't kind of meeting up absolutely perfectly, that's going to be along your fat seam allowance, right? So you don't really have to worry about that matching up so much. All right. So once we've removed our fusible web paper backing, then it is going to be time to fuse all 3 of our applique shapes in place. All right. So the background fabric is also acting as the water that is around the cliffs of Moher. So we've got our light blue sky, our tan or beige cliffs, and then our green grass in the foreground. And you can see how these pieces overlap just ever so slightly so that we have that dimensionality. All right, so once that's fused, we are going to take our stick and stitch printed template. So if you've never used stick and stitch before, they are 8.5 by 11 sheets of water-soluble adhesive-backed stabilizer. So we actually don't need to hoop this at all when we're doing the embroidery, because not only is this helping to transfer our design, but it is also acting as a stabilizer so that we can stitch in hand without needing a hoop. So really, really great for a travel project like we did here, because everybody didn't need their own hoop to add to all of the other stuff that we were purchasing up and adding to our luggage as we moved along. So we're going to take our stick and stitch sticker printed sheet. You want to print on your lowest ink setting or your draft setting, it's sometimes called. That way you don't oversaturate your stick and stitch with ink. We really don't want the ink to transfer to any of our threads. And it does soak into the product, so you shouldn't have any smearing and things like that, especially if you print it on the lowest ink setting. Now, if you can't print on the lowest ink setting, you have one setting for your printer, that's fine too. Just after it prints, let it sit over to the side a little ways so that the ink fully saturates the product, so that you're not swiping over it with your hand, getting ink on yourself or your threads or your fabric. That shouldn't happen, but just in case, just let it sit for a second before you apply it. All right. So you're going to print on the fabric-like side. It's going to feel like fabric. The other side is paper. So we're going to remove that paper to expose the sticky adhesive. So here I am removing that. If you have trouble getting it started, you can just try to kind of tear it along one edge, and that will tear the paper backing, but it won't harm the stabilizer product on the right side. So you can just kind of get it started with a little tear and then take your sticker transfer sheet off, and we're going to place that over the top of our appliques. So this is a really important photo here because you can see that my appliques really don't match up all that well, and it's okay. I mean, look at the line for the grass is way underneath the line for my applique grass. So I just kind of eyeballed it, moved that up in my head to follow that line. I moved one of the sheep up a little ways, filled in with some French knots, and it totally looks like it was meant to be. So don't freak out if yours looks similar to mine and is not matching up completely, perfectly. No worries there. You really want to get your cliffs pretty well centered on that sheet because there's so many lines and different colors added to the actual cliffs. This is why there are 4 different colors for those cliffs, because the cliff faces are a little bit lighter than the cliff sides, and that's how we're going to build out the dimensionality of the cliffs in our final ornament or final hand embroidered piece. So maybe you can see it a little bit better if I show you my actual ornament here. See all those different colors? Whereas some of the cliffs are left just with that beige felty color. There's green on the tops for the grass, and then all these different browns filling in to create the different shadows and things like that that are on the cliffs. All right, so once we have our embroidery template in place, we're going to simply start stitching. But you want to start stitching with the 12 weight filane thread, which is the white spool of thread that everybody on our tour received. The reason we're going to start with this one, and we're going to do all the clouds, all the water, and all the sheeps, is because we want to be able to brush out this thread so that we have this 3D sheep fur, right? And 3D cloud plumes and 3D water waves crashing up onto the cliffs. So in order to do that, we're going to be using our filane wire brush. So for all the portions that have filane thread, we want to do a really dense satin stitch or fill stitch so that there's lots of thread filling in those areas. So when we go to brush them out, the thread is going to bloom, what we call bloom, meaning the fibers, the acrylic fibers, are going to kind of come away from the core strand of thread, and it's going to create this faux fur effect. So cool. So you can choose to brush out maybe only your little sheep, make them really furry, maybe only the clouds. Look how dimensional this cloud is. Can you see that? It's a little bit hard to see as I brush it away, but so cute, very fluffy clouds. And you want to make sure that you're brushing all of these components or areas of the design before we add any of the other thread, which is going to be our 12 weight cotton thread. We don't want to accidentally, nick any of this other thread or, brush it in any way. So we want to do all of the white and all of the brushing before we add the other thread colors. Make sense? And super helpful to do the brushing of this while your stick and stitch is still in place, because then your Felty is also protected from the wire brush bristles. There's a layer of protection with that sticker over the top, so you won't accidentally harm any of that Felty with the wire brush. All right, everybody with me? Okay, perfect. So We do all the clouds, we do all the water waves, and we do all the little sheep. So then we're going to go crazy and start brushing out all of these areas. You could see how many stitches I did just for the clouds alone. You can do long and short stitches. You can do satin stitches. You can do a mixture of long and short and satin stitches. The point is you just really want lots of dense stitches in these areas. And they're relatively small. I mean, these clouds did not take very much time to stitch out. And if you just wanted to do your little sheep bodies, you could really kind of just whip stitch along the little sheep circles, and you'd be done with those in no time at all, and you could brush those out. Another thing I wanted to mention was we also talked about in the workshop doing this design on your sewing machine, setting your sewing machine for free motion, or you could set your sewing machine for really longer straight stitches, kind of straight stitch in all different directions for these areas. So if you're more comfortable working on your sewing machine than you are doing handwork, you could certainly take liberties with this design. And since it's a free download at sulky.com, why not experiment with it and have some fun and make it your own? You also don't have to do any of these fill stitches in here. You could simply go along all of the lines using a blanket stitch on your machine. The only thing you need to take into account is that the threads that are recommended for this are very heavy weight. They're 12 weight cotton threads, with the exception of Felty, which is a 12 weight acrylic thread. So they need a needle with a very large needle eye to accommodate the thread thickness without breaking or shredding the thread. If your needle is too small, that's how you're going to get thread breakage or shredding, or your thread's going to back up kind of on you, start knotting and things. That means your needle eye is not large enough for the thread's thickness. So you need to go up to a size 100 needle, 116 it will say. And if you get an assortment pack of needles, then you should have maybe 1 or 2 100s and then some 90s, some 80s. You get the idea. All right, thread in the bobbin, Jana, you want to use like a 50 weight thread in the bobbin or a 60 weight poly light in the bobbin. When you're working with this heavyweight thread, you want a lightweight thread in the bobbin because it's going to pull that thread a little bit to the wrong side or, between the layers. And we really want to minimize the bulkiness there so that our needle is able to go through all the layers of the Felty as well as create a nice balanced stitch. So you want to go with a much lighter weight thread when you're using a heavyweight thread in the needle. All right. So we're going to brush out all of our Felty areas, and then you can start adding your other threads. So as I mentioned, you can just do back stitches along all of your applique pieces, or you can do some blanket stitches on your machine or your favorite applique stitch, whatever you like. I started with the green areas. I outlined everything so that I could really see where I wanted to add dimension and things like that. And then I decided to add little mini French knots in all of the little green areas on the pattern. And I just love how that worked out. All these little French knots, my little sheep are standing on them. And you could add even more little French knot areas, just some little tufts of grass. I thought that gave it just a really neat kind of little texture and something different than the green that I added at the top of the cliffs, which quite frankly, there was not a lot of green at the top of the cliffs, but at any rate, we added it there. So at the top of the cliffs, I just did long and short stitches. They're mostly kind of short back stitches all along in some subsequent rows across the top of the cliffs as well. So I just went color by color according to the color chart in the hand embroidery design pattern. And once you have it where you want it, your embroidery is complete. Now, you may not be able to see the mistake that I made here, but I went ahead and got really excited that my embroidery was done, and I started rinsing away the stick and stitch. Well, you can see I don't have the French knots on there yet, and I completely forgot to transfer the Ireland 2024, right? There's no stitches there at all. But I had already started rinsing it away, so I had to go with it. So, you know, we all make mistakes, right? I was too excited. So I rinsed this all away, and you'll notice that I have the project up at an angle, right? You want to make sure that you're rinsing the stick and stitch away from the project rather than soaking your project in a bowl of water. Now, soaking away water solubles is perfectly fine when you're doing things like freestanding lace, where you don't have ink on your water soluble stabilizer. Then you could throw it in a bowl, wait for it to dissolve, give it a little agitation with your fingers, let it dry on a towel. When we're using stick and stitch and it has this printed design, want to make sure that we are rinsing the product away from our fabric, away from our thread, so that any ink that's left in the product is not going to transfer to our fabric and it's not going to transfer to our beautiful white filaine thread, right? Okay, so make sure that you have it kind of at an angle. Just hold it up, lukewarm or warm water. The warmer it is, the faster it's going to dissolve, but it even works in cold water too. All right, so we're going to rinse that away. And I let mine dry fully on a towel. Whoopsies. That's not the picture I wanted to show you. I let mine dry fully on a towel, and then I went in and added, you know, I kind of looked at things and I thought, I'm going to add these French knots. I'm going to add little sheep heads. Originally, it just had little feet. So I added little French knots for my sheep heads so that they had a little bit more personality, a little bit more to their body. And then I just freehanded the Ireland 2024 because I completely forgot to stitch over it before I let my stick and stitch dissolve away. So rather than printing a whole new sheet just to have that lettering, I just kind of eyeballed it and stitched my Ireland 2024 there at the bottom. So now that that's done and your stick and stitch is dissolved and it's fully dried on a towel, you might want it to dry overnight. Then you can figure out, do you want to make this into hand embroidery art by hooping it in a 6-inch hoop? Do you want to create a little shelf pillow? Put it on your cute little shelf in your sewing room or in your living room or something, next to a bookcase maybe. Make a little pillow out of it. Maybe add some pom-pom fringe around the outside edge would be really cute. All sorts of things you can do with your finished hand embroidery design. I decided to make mine into an ornament, so it would be kind of like my keepsake ornament for my Christmas tree and remind me of my trip to the Cliffs of Moher. So I made this very, very similar to making a pillow actually. I just cut another sheet of Sulky Felty to the circle dimensions on the pattern. I placed them right sides together. I added my little hanging twine piece, just folded it in half, put it so that the ends are along the seam allowance, centered it a little bit on the upper edge of the project. Then I sewed around the entire circle, leaving a little opening for turning. Excuse me. I turned it right side out using the Sulky multi-purpose turning tool, which is like one of my favorite tools, as you know. Then I stuffed it with just a little bit of fiberfill. So if you are going to make this into a pillow, you probably want to stuff it a bit more. I just stuffed mine so it's, you know, a little bit plushy. Then I just hand sewed my opening shut and you have your finished ornament. So a really, really cute way to commemorate your travels, you know, and with all of our long bus rides, we had a few bus rides that were kind of long. We could take it with us on the bus if we wanted to, or catch up on some Z's. But it's, you know, great to have a little project to take with you on your travels as well, because of, some of those long travel days that you may have. All right, so here it is, my finished ornament. I just hung it up where I have this little macrame art so I could take a pretty picture for you. And so cute with our dimensional fuzzy sheep and our dimensional clouds and water, and then all that dimension and shading that we're creating on the cliff faces. So just a really, really great rendition of the Cliffs of Moher. So now I will show you the actual Cliffs of Moher, because it is part of some of the photos that I captured of our trip. So if you were on our trip, part of our fantastic group of tour mates for Ireland, I mean, we were all fast friends. We had almost every meal together, and that's really saying a lot because, they give you a lot of free time to just go have lunch on your own, things like that. And a lot of us, we just wanted to stay together. So we had quite a few meals together and, hung out on our alone time as well. So we just really, really enjoyed each other's company, and I miss you all already. All right, so let's get to it here. I'll try to go through these rather quickly. And if I forget some of the names of these places, I apologize. I only just came back yesterday, and it's like a whirlwind in my head right now. So bear with me here, but this was our very first stop after arriving. We went to this tiny little village where they had some craft shops and a restaurant. It was right on the edge of the water here. Excuse me. It was so cute. All of these independent crafters, making pottery and making paintings. And it was a beautiful, beautiful day. Great start to the trip. This was just the little craft shops, galleries, and a little cafe. And it was a great little pit stop where we could just kind of take a load off, get some fresh air from, a long, long travel day, and really immerse ourselves in a small town in the Irish countryside. Then we stopped off at a little beachy area where we could go skinny dipping. What do you say? Okay, so if you don't know, skinny dipping in Ireland means to take your shoes off and put your feet in the water. I know, right? Skinny dipping is a little bit different in our neck of the woods, but we all went skinny dipping in Ireland, which really just meant we got our toes wet. So that was a really great thing to do on our first day because we just really, all got into the spirit, and we were able to dip our toes in the freezing cold water and walk around in this beautiful, beautiful setting. I mean, amazing. Am I right? Love it. All right, so then we went to Galway, and Galway is such a cute little area. All of these buildings are, painted in these super bright colors. So lots and lots of shops in the little center of town, lots of restaurants and pubs, all of that good stuff. So then we checked into our hotel in Galway, and the next morning we went to a crystal factory. This was a beautiful day. Now, the weather started turning on us a little bit, and we had all expected it. Everyone was ready for rain, but we spent most of our day in this crystal factory. So we showed up, and immediately we were greeted by the owner of this crystal factory. His family has owned it for generations, and we got a little talk about how the crystal is made, and just an incredible welcome into this store. No, it was not Waterford Crystal. It was a different place. I thought I had, it might be on the sign. Whoopsies, wrong picture. I can't read it on here. I apologize. I can't remember. Somebody on the trip, please remind me the name of this crystal factory. So we got an amazing demo of the etching in this crystal bowl. So this man has been working for this crystal company for, I don't even know how long. but he is a master artisan, and it took maybe about, I don't know, 2 minutes for him to etch a Celtic cross on the entire outside of this bowl. So you can see this equipment is so ancient, but you know what? If it ain't broke, why fix it? This works for them, and it's the way they have been doing things forever. So you can see that little hook-shaped deal right next to his head. That is bringing the water down so that, you know, water's going over the blades. It was just an amazing thing to watch. It took 2 minutes. Yep. Oh, thank you, Colleen and Danita. Celtic Crystal Factory. Thank you so much. As I mentioned, I have forgotten some of these things. All right. So I'm losing my place as well. There we go. So first he did the Celtic cross. Then he went in and did the rose on the bottom of the bowl. So it almost looked like, you know, a chrysanthemum or something on the bottom of the bowl. That was amazing. Took another, I don't know, 2 minutes for him to do it. And then he came in and he did this Irish symbol, right? With the crown and the heart and the hands, and just etched this into the glass right in front of us. I mean, it like took no time at all. He's absolutely incredibly amazing. So this is what the crystal looks like before it's polished. So then he kind of passed that around, and then he showed us what it looks like polished and unpolished. You can see he's holding them there. And this is our fabulous group all together at the Crystal Factory, taking a group photo with this incredible artisan. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Then we got to go shopping. And lots of us found all kinds of things, vases, vases, however you want to call it. Some goblets, there was jewelry, rings, just everything to look at this beautiful shop. Here is one of their prize-winning crystal baskets. You could see it has a shamrock on the front, all of these beautiful motifs in it, and it has a green color in it as well. I don't even know how much this would go for. Very expensive piece, absolutely amazing, and prize-winning. This is also another goblet with the red in it. So beautiful. This is one of their showpieces in the front. There were so many things. I mean, I couldn't take pictures of them all, although I really tried. It was just an amazing, amazing place to visit, and something that is seemingly off the beaten path. You know, it's not one of these big old crystal houses like the Waterford Crystal place, but family owned and just amazing. All right, so then we went to Kylemore Abbey. A little bit drizzly still. It was raining on us here as well. This was that same day, so, you know, we packed so much in every single day. So we got to go to the Abbey. We got to go to the gardens, which were phenomenal. This is the entry into Kylemore Gardens, and they use all of their produce and everything in the garden to make their soups and stews and their desserts and everything in their coffee shop. So it all just works together. It was an amazing tour and a fabulous day. This is a great photo of only a small portion of their gardens. And you could see very cloudy, drizzly day, but we walked all around and enjoyed it with our umbrellas and our raincoats, and we didn't even care that we were getting wet because this was just a sight to see. All right. Then, of course, when a place says that they're famous for their apple pie, what do? You get a piece of their apple pie. So this is their famous Kylemore apple pie with a custard topping. And yes, it was delicious. And it was really kind of like a cake pie. I don't know how to describe it, but the pastry was less like a pie dough, more like a thinner sponge. Very delicious, very delicious. So Colleen, my partner in crime, and I shared this. This was absolutely delicious. After we had some real food, of course. But since I didn't take a picture of that, I can't even remember what we ate. other than this wonderful apple pie. If I didn't take a picture of it, did it happen? I'm not sure. All right. So I can't remember if I think this is also the same day because we still had drizzle during this demonstration. We stopped again off the beaten path, a place where, you know, this is what I love about a craft tourist trip, right? You would never know to research this place. You would never know it's there. But our awesome tour guide / driver said, I have to take you ladies to this place. Who wants to go to a sheep herding demonstration on the way back to the hotel? Do you think anybody didn't raise their hand? We all wanted to go. Didn't care if it was raining. We were going to be under an awning, he assured us. We were fine. We weren't freezing. It was great. So we went to this wonderful farm and we watched the dog Pip bring in some sheep. He did a whole demonstration, the farmer, not Pip. Well, Pip also did it as well, where he was, you know, blowing whistles and making Pip move the sheep here and there, brought the sheep in right to us, and he gave us a great talk about how he raises his sheep, how far back his farmland goes. He now has a mine tour as well as a sheep herding demonstration on his property because tourism is a great source of income for him. Of course, this land has been in his family for generations, and he also trains all of his dogs, and Pip was just a hit with the ladies, and we absolutely loved it. Loved it. Major highlight of this trip was this sheep herding demonstration. All right, that night we were on our own for dinner, but we decided to all go together to Barnacle's Galway, which was quite possibly my favorite restaurant on the entire tour. It was so good, in fact, we were all gushing about our food that the chef wanted to meet us. There he is in the middle. And then our server is also in the photo. They just, you know, loved us. We had a great time together. Fabulous food. So we had to take a photo at Barnacle's Galway. The next day we went to the Cliffs of Moher. So now I'm going to show you these photos and you could compare them to the project that I just showed you. And hopefully we, did it pretty well. So this is a little statue that you see when you're entering the Cliffs of Moher on your walk up to the view of the cliffs. And I don't know what happened, but we woke up in the morning, no rain, no clouds, very little wind, perfect conditions for the Cliffs of Moher, great visibility. We couldn't have asked for anything more. We were a little nervous about it because the day before it had rained so much on us, but we didn't have rain from here on out until the day we departed. I know. Can you believe it? Amazing. All right, so here was my very first view of the cliffs. And yes, there were sheep there as well. Little tiny bit of green on the top of the cliffs there that you could see in the distance. So hopefully, I don't know, do we get it right? It's a little backwards, but you get the idea. It was absolutely amazing. We took an extended hike around the grounds to get different views of the cliffs, and it was beautiful. Then we went to, what was this called, Colleen? It was Burren, okay? So we went to the edge of Ireland. Our tour guide was joking that if you looked far enough in the distance, you could see the Statue of Liberty. All right, so Burren is created because of an iceberg, I believe. And all of this is limestone. There's cracks in here that go all the way down to the ocean. It was so cool to walk all across this and just kind of, hey, do you guys want to stop for a comfort stop, aka potty break, and see something else that is super cool? All right, here is one of our tour mates, Vicky. She's, celebrating that she's on the edge of the earth here in Burren, and I just thought that this was such a celebratory photo. So she's great. All right, and then later that day, we came back from the cliffs and we did our sewing workshop. So we had this great room. We had some snacks. We had some chocolates. We had our beautiful window view, and we all sat together and we did our Cliffs of Moher project and had another great time. And I couldn't have planned it any better that our workshop was scheduled on the same day that we went to the cliffs. It was all just so serendipitous and great. All right, the next day we went into, did we go to Cary this day? This is one of the ones I can't really remember, but we saw some beautiful gardens. We went shopping in a little village. We went to, they had this beautiful church. I had to take a picture of these stained glass windows because look how the sun is coming through them. It was just beautiful inside. And then we went to these gardens across the way. The hydrangeas were in full bloom everywhere we went. So well groomed. No trash. Everyone is so proud of their land, and it was just so refreshing to see. Beautiful, beautiful hydrangeas everywhere. Red hydrangeas. I'd never seen such a thing. So I had to take a picture of that. Also in this village, they had some authentic hatched roofs, which are so quintessential Ireland. So I had to take some pictures of some of those. So very well kept as well. And maintained. It's just amazing. Then we went to another castle. There were swans down in the lake. And this was an extremely old castle. There were cannons from the 1700s up top. So we got to kind of explore around there as just a little quick trip. I think we only spent 20-30 minutes here just checking it out, taking some photos. And then we went, oh my gosh, what is this called? Muckross House. We went to Muckross House, which is a huge mansion, and we got to go inside and explore all the land around it. I think this is the only picture I got, so I must have been enthralled. But inside the gift shop, they had Muckross pottery, which they make on site, and this woman was making some right in front of my face. So I had to take some pictures of her creating their beautiful style of pottery. All right, after Muckross, we went to Torque Waterfall. This is a very short little hike up to the falls. So we all got out of the bus, and miraculously our bus driver found a parking spot because this place was packed to the gills. But look how we managed to get some pristine photos. We managed to get right up close. People are very respectful. You know, the Irish have just a way with them, don't they? And even the tourists, it's contagious, you know? They're so kind. Everyone just took their turns and just kind of rotated on through, and it was a beautiful short little hike. We got up to the falls, and it was gorgeous. All right. So I think this is the next day. This is one of our comfort stops. We stopped along the way, wherever we're going. I'll get to it. And I had just another beautiful Irish countryside / ocean / beach photo opportunity. So I went out there and took it. Just gorgeous. We went to Brian de Stack Jewelry, and we got a demo of their ancient language. It's, you know, the first written language in Irish, or in Ireland. And it's a series of lines going, you know, diagonally or straight across to represent letters. And then you could get your name spelled out and put on various pieces of jewelry if you wanted. So this was a really fascinating place. Very, very unique jewelry that you can't find anywhere else. It's not in the touristy shops. You wouldn't find it if you weren't on craft tours or if you didn't search for it directly, because it really is just in the middle of seemingly nowhere. So that was a beautiful spot. This is another comfort stop. And the reason I took a picture here is because these little rocks in the way background is where they filmed Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So on the face of those rocks way out in the distance that look darker than the rest, that is where they filmed some of The Last Jedi. So I had to take a picture and send that off to my Star Wars loving son. He was very excited to see that I was there. All right, does anybody know what this is? The next day we went to Blarney Castle. That is Blarney Castle. Another beautiful day. It did sprinkle a little bit as we were leaving. So we were getting on the bus and it started sprinkling. I mean, just unbelievable weather that we had. So this is the Blarney Castle, and of course we had to go up and kiss the Blarney Stone. So let me just say, I am deathly afraid of heights, okay? Like, I go to the Grand Canyon and I can't even get 20 feet from the edge. I get the butterflies in my stomach, start getting anxiety. I have to start meditating. I have to start breathing deeply. It really affects me. And I try to overcome these fears because I know some of them are irrational. This one, however, I felt was not so irrational because you literally have to lay on your back and do a half back bend to get your face close enough to kiss the Blarney Stone. Thankfully, I had Colleen with me, coaching me through the entire time, telling me I could do it. And I will say, climbing up the very narrow spiral staircase of Blarney Castle to get up here to kiss this stone is probably more scary, filled with anxiety, than doing it. Okay? Because it's all that build-up leading up to the fact that you're about to dangle your head off of the side of a castle. Okay? So I was so proud of our tour mates that went for it. Colleen being one of them. Congratulations. So glad we did it. I feel like I would have been full of regret had I passed it up. So look at my face. I think I was crying. I don't know. I was looking at this man like, please don't let go of me. And here I am doing it. He's holding on to me, and I'm holding on to those bars like for dear life. Okay? So I did it. Whew! That was it. Then we went and sanitized ourselves from top to bottom before getting back on the bus. Oh, but we did it. We got through it. It was great. Here I am afterwards, so excited to be on, the ground. All right. Blarney Castle. What a trip. Okay. So then we traveled to Dublin and we went to the Guinness Factory. Now, this was an optional add-on to our tour. So some of us did the Guinness Factory tour, while some of us went to St. Patrick's Cathedral. So we were a little bit split up for this portion of the tour, just for a few hours. Then we met back up on the bus and went to check into our new hotel in Dublin. So I loved the Guinness storefront experience. It was an absolutely amazing tour. The thought that they put into it and the technology that they use, and oh man, absolutely amazing. They give you this tiny little taster in the tasting room, and it was so cute. I had to take a picture of it. But they also give you a full pint as well, and you go all the way to the top floor. I think you're on like floor 9, and it's a 360 view of all of Dublin. And you get your free pint, and you can walk around, and it was absolutely packed, but it was so fun. And a lot of us took advantage of this and did the full tour. All right. Our very last day, we woke up, we went to Avoca Mill. We watched some wool blankets and coats and things being made. We got an entire talk and tour from this amazing gentleman who was part of the Avoca family. We watched how these looms were created and manufactured and how they progressed over the years to from manual to machinery. And it was really, really fascinating and a great tour. And then, of course, we got to go shopping as well. Then we made our way to Glendalough, which is very, very beautiful nature reserve and grounds. And you can do many, many different hikes depending on, your skill level or depending on what you want to do. And you get to this sort of burial ground and these towers and some remnants of castles and, just really, really beautiful place. And then we woke up in the morning, got on the plane, and went our separate ways. Here's my last picture of Ireland from way, way above in my airplane seat, and just my last photo of the Emerald Isle. So that is our trip, and I hope you enjoyed my little slideshow there. Yes, there was so much activity into the trip, so many things to do, and we, some of these things were not on our itinerary, and we just kind of went with the flow and added some things here and there, and it just was absolutely incredible. So if you are interested in, Fran says, can you keep the glass? Meaning that little taster glass. Funny that you ask, because after you do your little taste and they guide you through, the scents and the smells and everything that you should be tasting when you taste a Guinness, then they say, that little glass that you're holding, we know it's cute. We know it can fit in your pocket, but please return it. So we returned it. That's why I took a picture of it so I could see it. And yeah. All right. So anyways, if you are interested in a trip like this, going to one of our upcoming locations, again, you can join us in Bali in October. You can join us in India in March. You can join us in Greece in May, or you can join us in Germany and Austria at the end of 2025 for our Christmas market tour, where we will also be seeing where Sulky thread is made and manufactured. So we have lots of opportunities like this coming up, and you will be able to have an experience of a lifetime like we just did in Ireland. All right. Christy says, thank you so much for the photos. I love them. Thank you for sharing your trip with us. Of course, I want to share it with you, and I really want you to experience one of these trips as well. So check those out. Use the link that I put in the description of today's post. If you're not seeing it, you probably need to click on see more or more. Then the whole description will pop out. You'll be able to find links for everything I was talking about today from our free hand embroidery pattern, which you could also use that same pattern to stitch this out on a machine. Use your stick and stitch, follow the lines on it, but set your machine to free motion or straight stitch, stitch along those lines. Use the same techniques that I shared with you for rinsing away the stabilizer, creating an ornament, or your hoop art, and you'll be good to go on your way. All right, Susie wants to go to India. Go over there and sign up, and you can join us in March for the Festival of Holi, for our sunrise trip to the Taj Mahal, and so many more things. There's just too many things on the itinerary for me to even list here on So What. So definitely go check it out. It'll be a fabulous trip of a lifetime. All right, I will see you next Tuesday for another So What, which is also the same day that we will be presenting our Floral Farmhouse Pinnacle Table Runner webcast with this pattern designed by the Crafty Gemini. Grab up your kit in either the Floral Farmhouse version or the Halloween version, or both. And I will see you next Tuesday for another So What, followed by Floral Farmhouse Pinnacle Table Runner over at sewingonline.sulky.com. All right, have a great rest of your day, everyone, and I'll see you next week.